So according to Indeed's jobs and hiring report, software development saw the sharpest drop in job postings across all sectors at a negative 51% change year over year. And what's even more confusing is that lately we've been seeing a lot of these job postings come up that require 3 to 5 years of experience for an entry-level developer. And if you're trying to break into the software sector, this can all be a frustrating experience. I went through the same thing in my first job search. And today I want to just go through a couple of things. Why companies put out job postings like this, what people online are saying about job postings like this, and as always, actionable advice for you to take away if you're searching for an entry-level software job. So why do companies have postings like this? Do they just have like ridiculously high expectations, or like did they expect software engineers to be working full-time software jobs in high school and college, or coding when they were like 12 or something? Well, there are a couple of main reasons, and no, they don't expect you to code since you were 12. But to preface those reasons, I wanted to mention that this is an annoying thing that's been happening for a long time. Even if you just Google the term or go look on Reddit, you'll see that this is a problem that people have been talking about for years and years. Why do entry-level jobs ask for 3 to 5 years of experience if it's entry-level? They were doing this when I graduated in 2009. It's not a recent trend. So this is something that people in all job sectors experience. So it's not just a software specific thing. So now that we know this is not a new problem, let's move into why this is happening. The first and probably the most important reason is that these are basically just wish lists for these companies, and they don't actually want everything that they put on a job posting. Basically, when companies are trying to hire, they're not looking at specifically one person, whether they should hire them or not. They're looking to find the best candidate in a giant pool of candidates. Meaning that if the company were able to find someone who was amazing, who were programming since they were 12, who has like 18 years of experience at like 19 years old, and are willing to take an entry-level salary for some reason, then yeah, of course they would take that person. But the company's idea by putting out posts like this, where they ask for years of experience or all these technologies, is that they hope to attract people to the position that are somewhat around what the job requirements are, to give some wiggle room, to hope that they can narrow down their candidate pool to a certain archetype of people. And the hope is to take the best possible candidate in that pool that matches their description, given that they're not like a sociopath or like someone crazy or something. So don't take these things as checklists for what you need as a prerequisite for applying to a job. And the second reason that companies have posts like these is that these job postings are not always written by the software engineers or the team that's actually hiring for a position. And the people writing the posts, they might not even know how the position works specifically. Take this post, for example. As a general rule of thumb, subtract 2 years from requested experience. This situation arises in a number of ways, but it mostly boils down to an absence of communication between engineering, who want to hire someone, and HR. So stuff like this happens all the time in the bureaucracy of bigger companies, where a team puts out a list of job requirements that they need. It gets passed down to another team, HR maybe, for adding different sections or ideas that they have. And then the more and more this job description gets passed out before it's released, the farther away from the original intent it gets. And then eventually you get all these random things added, like 2 to 4 years of experience required, or like rockstar developer needed, or something like that. So imagine that a job description isn't being written by a single human being, and more by a committee of human beings, which is why you get some of these weird nuances in postings. And the third reason that companies have these job postings is that sometimes these companies aren't really hiring junior level engineers, but they don't want to pay to train a junior level engineer. They just want a mid-level engineer at a junior engineer's salary. This is more probable in the current job market because currently there's just a large supply of mid-level and entry-level engineers. And due to that, it's much more common for a lot of these companies to ask much more of their prospective engineers that they want to hire for a smaller salary. There are a couple more posts with like a similar sentiment. An entry-level position that expects 3 to 4 years of experience means that they want 3 to 4 years of experience, but will pay an entry-level salary. It's just employers taking advantage of the favorable condition they have. Why wouldn't you expect them to hire an intermediate engineer on a junior engineer salary? But definitely keep in mind that not all companies are like this. Like not all companies are out there trying to like screw over the people they're trying to hire. But there are certain companies like that. So it is important to be aware. So let's dive into a couple more frustrations people are having with these types of job postings. And from reading these comments online, we can actually gather a bunch more insights from what people are saying online. The first general consensus people have is that a junior level engineer and an entry level engineer are different roles altogether. Let's dive into just a few of these thoughts. The definition of junior and senior changes from company to company. One company might consider juniors anyone who has around less than 3 to 5 years of experience. Their seniors may not start until 8 to 10 years of experience. It's not a set in stone definition. I just want to point out that the entry level and juniors are not necessarily the same thing. Is there overlap? Yes. But are they the same? No. Some companies define entry level as the first job in that vertical available to the company and not someone that can do it with 0 experience. Entry level doesn't necessarily mean no experience required. It just means this is the lowest skill position we have. So as you can see, there's a bunch of mixed opinions. Like some people define entry levels as below juniors. Some people define them as higher than juniors. But the idea here is that these roles, sometimes their names are there because they are simply the baseline level of the ladder at a company. And it's not necessarily a position that requires 0 years of experience, which is confusing, but it's like an explanation, I suppose. Another thought people have is that job titles are just titles and that they're meaningless, and it's more about what a single engineer can do for the company, which I generally agree with. I mean, of course it matters more what you do than what your job title is, but I will say your job title matters a lot when you're preparing your resume in order to interview for another company one day. But this does connect to a topic I want to talk about, which is applying for jobs you feel like you're unqualified for, which I'll cover later in the video. Okay, so on to the next general thought that people have. Some people take it as a filtration system more than anything else because software job applications get thousands and thousands and thousands of applicants, which may be a possibility, but with modern job systems and the ATS or the applicant tracking systems, all these resumes are going through automated scanners anyway and ranking all these resumes before a human actually calls them. So the idea of these being used as filtration systems for like tons and tons of applicants doesn't seem as likely in the modern day. And one last thought that people have is that some places take your years of experience in college as years of experience for the actual job, which might be true, but at this point, this kind of feeds back into the topic of applying to jobs that you feel like you're unqualified for. The point is that if you see a job description and you feel like you don't match all the requirements, you should apply to it anyways and always, especially if you feel like you could do the job. Again, these checklists are just wish lists for applicants. And we've seen throughout this video that there's a whole bunch of reasons why companies would put that you need 2 to 4 years of experience for an entry-level position. And if you're struggling to get a job or you're trying to get your first job in software engineering, you should be applying to anything you feel remotely qualified for. And you should be applying for the things that you even feel unqualified for, because you never know what kind of people are applying and you never know which companies will actually get back to you. At the end of the day, you know, it's a numbers game. So like all my advice and what I always say is don't give up, stay in the job hunt, keep strong, and keep applying to software jobs. So this video has mostly been about why companies do the things they do when they're trying to hire entry-level software engineers. And if you want to learn more about why companies won't hire entry-level software engineers, I made a whole video about that a couple months back explaining everything, which you can watch if you click here. So if you're struggling to get a job, that video will help you understand why companies act the way they do and what you can do in response to help yourself get a job. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And as always, thanks for watching.